And we are live. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Stingers Up podcast. We have our next episode. I'm definitely losing count at this point. I think it's 7 or something. I definitely didn't write it down, but nonetheless, welcome to this next episode. I am Chris Raymond, as always, your host, and with me is the awesome. I love his the background he's got going on right now is Matthew Thompson. So, Matthew, how you doing today?
I'm doing pretty well. I woke up at 8 a.m., which is something that I didn't used to do. So I'm proud of myself.
Is that earlier than usual or later than usual?
Much earlier than usual.
Okay.
Okay. I used to, like my first semester of college, I had the earliest classes I had were at 1:30.
Mm-hmm.
That was every day. And
Gotcha.
So, yeah.
So yeah, just a little bit earlier. Did you just get up just because, or you just kind
Oh
of?
yeah, it's force a habit because like
Gotcha.
I have a morning math class now at 8 every
Okay,
day. So yeah,
gotcha. Ooh, that's a little rough. At least it's
yeah, it is rough.
online. Like I know I've had really early classes. I think I had my earliest was like a calculus at 7 in the morning, and I remember sitting in my car before like exams. Like it was like in the fall semester, so you're like, man, it's really cold. I just want to go in there and do math right now.
Yeah.
But that's cool. So what as I mentioned, I like the background first off. I think I'll probably ask about that before I forget what's going on back there.
Okay, so I'm in my
Perfect.
living room,
Uh-huh.
and that's where I set up my battle station. I
Nice.
can't do work in my own room
Uh-huh.
because, well, so I have this weird thing where usually the excuse people give for like not setting up their station in their room or not doing homework or not doing anything in their room is there are too many distractions.
Uh-huh. I
For
can understand.
me, my room there's almost no distractions in there. I almost live like a, I don't know what a good term is, but I live like I can like pack up and like escape to
Very
Canada
very
the next day.
minimalist.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
like for me, I can't be in a space where there's barely anything there, and it just doesn't feel very
Okay.
friendly.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I like being in spaces where like where I know like people are gonna pass by like at some point in the day. So I feel like more comfortable around like public spaces, I guess. And
That's
so
cool.
that's why I have my TV doing the thing. I don't know. It just gives me. It just I don't know. It's like
Adds
the
like a
thing
social
where
ambiance.
yeah, where like when you get older and you start living more by yourself, right? Your family can visit you sometimes, but like
Mm-hmm.
you'll still get like pretty lonely. Like I know that sometimes happens to my grandma now, especially where I can't visit her as much.
Yeah.
It's just nice to have some sort of human noise or just reminder that you have a portal into the outside world. So that's what my TV's doing. I have a really nice bookshelf back there too. Um,
Nice. I
so
didn't see that before, but I can always appreciate a bookshelf. I
yep.
wish I had one. I have just like books stacked. I've kind of made my own little book. It's like a book corner. Um, but nice. I like the bookshelf. I like it is. It's got like a little flower up top and everything. It's very
Yeah.
sets a good atmosphere. It's good. So that's cool. So what? How's your semester coming along?
This is probably the worst semester I've ever had.
I can
Um,
understand that.
and my semesters have usually been pretty good, so that doesn't mean that it's really bad. But if someone forced me to choose between was this good or was this bad, I'd probably say it's pretty bad.
It's in the bad form.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, because I also did something. I don't know if I would call it like stupid or like
Oh no.
or something, but like
Hmm.
this semester I tried to branch out because like I didn't know if I wanted to stay a history major. I
Gotcha.
didn't know if I
Gotcha.
wanted to graduate as a history major, and so I was like, maybe I'll um, try doing like getting into the sciences, right? And so I
Hmm.
was thinking about maybe biology because like um, I don't know, I have a lot of interest in biology, but
Yeah.
as like a career field or like as like a general like broad field, I didn't go into like I didn't have an interest so much in like I was like ooh chemistry, like stuff like that, which is
Yeah.
funny talking to you.
It's all right. I encountered that a lot. I'm
Yeah,
I'm used to
but
being the strange chemist in the room.
yeah, so like my schedule this semester wasn't necessarily one that reflects my history major status. So
Hmm.
I'm in two classes, two GE classes,
Hmm.
um, One is ethnic and race relations, which is a sociology
Nice.
class, upper division. One is called Native American tribal governments. And so that's an
Nice.
ethnic studies class.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. But then the two others are in science. So I'm taking a physics 5A class and I'm taking a math 26A class.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. And I believe last time we were all kind of together on the team in the summer. I think that was so Matthew was working orientation with me as well during the summer 2020 semester. So I believe the last time we were kind of talking as a group, you had mentioned that you were thinking about switching over to biology or kind of
Yeah.
branching out. So that's cool.
Yeah.
So about the, oh, sorry, go on.
Oh, but I'm here to tell you that that's no longer my plan anymore.
There you
Um,
go.
After doing a single semester of like those two classes, like that would lead into further like science and bio
Mhm.
stuff, I've decided that well, it's not for me, and so
Gotcha.
because I just can't see myself doing more of it, like like incorporating even more on top of what I learned here
Mhm.
to form a major to graduate with. Like I don't know. I don't know if I can do that, especially like when I came to the school.
Mhm.
Just I weighed a lot of different factors,
Yeah.
and my current plan is just to go back to history. I'm still weighing whether I want to finish a history pre-credential as I was in, or just a
Mhm.
regular history major, and go from there. But yeah, I'm still in that process. But I know the classes that I've signed up for next semester do not reflect a bio major any longer.
Well, first off, I'd like to say it's sorry to hear we lost you as a STEM student. But no, I totally get it. Sometimes when you get those courses, especially like right now with the COVID, the pandemic, I can't imagine what it would be like to start learning chemistry right now. Like I definitely feel for students who are taking those fundamental courses and just getting into it. Like they're the real heroes. But I can imagine it'd be real tough because it's already something crazy when you're learning like a whole new study, a whole new discipline in person, much less when you're like at home and you can't see the professor as much, or just be like, hey man, I got a question about that diagram or whatnot.
Yeah, I would the way I look at it is I would not feel good if I had stayed with history and I didn't
Mm-hmm.
try this like I did.
I can
And so
understand that.
now having tried it, I can now say that okay, it's not for me. So like if I had graduated never knowing, what this is like, I would not feel as good as I did.
Yeah. No, I can definitely understand that.
Yeah.
Because you didn't want to have that like, man, what if it would have been awesome? What if it would have been
Yeah.
like the best thing ever? And now you're like, yeah, no, it's cool. It
Yeah.
wasn't for
But
me.
now I know it probably wouldn't have been.
Yeah. Um, who knows though? Because I know some of those classes, it gets fun later on. But no, I totally get it. Definitely those earlier classes can be a grind, and that's when it kind of gives you like a gut check of like, do I really want to do this?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so first off, what's the difference between a pre-credential history and just a regular history degree? Because I am admittedly not too familiar with the nuances of the program.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
so a regular history degree program is it's a 42 unit BA, or like at least that's what we have it here as. But it's
Yeah.
42 units, and it's like a general like scope. So you do very broad survey courses to begin with at the lower division level,
Mm-hmm.
and then as you get higher, you do it used to be called a sophomore level like research methods class, but now they recommend you do it like your first semester of your junior year.
Okay.
So like if you're transferring from another school, like a community college, they recommend you do the
Yeah.
research, the
Right off
intro
the bat.
research class, either your first semester there or
Yeah.
your second semester, just sometime in your third year. So once you get that class out of the way, then um, you can like kind of freely go through the upper division
Gotcha.
courses in history. Of course, there are like areas that are recommended, it's like
Mm-hmm.
U.S. history, world history, stuff like that.
The certain
And then once
sections. Yeah.
once you get those out of the way, then you have like your senior level classes, right?
Mm-hmm.
But
And
yeah,
that
but
is
then the
that where you get.
difference.
I
Oh,
was gonna
sorry.
say,
Go
is
ahead.
that when you get into like more like a specialized, like I want this specific section of history rather than the more broad
Yes. Yeah.
studies,
So
like you could say like, oh, world history, which is like cool, but that's, that's a whole big world versus like a certain country or a certain region or a certain time period.
yeah, so
Yeah.
we call it the 190 series because it's
Okay.
it's
Sounds
history,
cool.
190. Yeah, and so
Yeah.
like it's I think it's like 191 or 192, something like
Hmm.
that, where and there are different letters associated with it. So like if you want to do like your senior research capstone on like a certain area of the world, you can.
Hmm.
I haven't decided which I want to do that on yet, um,
Nice.
but yeah, but the difference between the two majors is that the first difference that I try to, at least like when I was an orientation leader, to explain it to students is that
Hmm.
there's a 30 unit difference. So the regular history major is 42 units and the pre-credential history major is 72 units. And so
Okay. Okay.
um, the reason why it has that 30 unit difference is because the pre-credential um, it incorporates they call it the social science half of the major.
Gotcha.
So you
Is it
do 39 units of a history degree and you do 33 units of social science, like breadth learning or something like that.
Gotcha. Is it setting you up for like a teaching credential type deal?
Yeah, so
Is that
it's
like
if you
the
wanted,
okay?
yeah, if you wanted to teach middle school or high school level.
Gotcha. No, that's cool. I like how they have that option where they sort of integrate it. If you know that's where you want to go, it's like, hey, tell you what, we'll just set that up. We'll work it into your program, essentially kind of having you pick the right electives while you're moving through with your history degree, or at least that's how I'm kind of looking at it right now. And that way, when you get out with your 4 year, your bachelor's, cool, you already got some credentials to move on with the next part of the next part of your pathway.
Yeah, that's true. It fulfills the prerequisites to go straight into the credentialing program right after.
Hmm.
So some people would kind of mistake it as like, oh, it's the credentialing program.
Yeah, you're like,
No, it's not. Yeah, it just means that you can go straight into it,
yeah.
and it waives certain parts of like the CSET and the CBEST.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah,
Yeah,
so it really does kind of set it up, like I said, especially if you know that's what you want to do.
yeah,
Um, nice, nice. So, did you already do the? I know you said you didn't know what you want to do for your senior research project. Did you already do the one you have to do like in the junior year?
yeah. So I did that in my sophomore year.
Okay.
Um,
So, what'd you do
yeah,
your project on? And now I'm
I
curious.
did it. So my professor, well, first off, the class is called History 100, and it's
Hmm.
called like, and so like the 100 level class is also found in political science. But
Yeah.
our general class topic was we had to choose a research topic somewhere having to do with Japanese Americans.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
and usually that has to do with like internment or like some part of like the immigration process.
Yeah, because
And
of like all
so
that history behind it.
yeah.
Yep.
And so since it was like a real intro to research, we had to use like the Sac State archives and stuff like that. And the reason why most people gravitate toward, or there's two reasons why people gravitate
Hmm.
toward the internment, is one because that's a big deal,
Yeah.
because like that's huge, like
Very
putting an entire
significant.
ethnic group,
Yeah,
yeah, in
definitely.
camps. But also, that's what we have, since it's such a big deal. That's what we have the most documentation on at our
Makes sense.
archives.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Versus like some obscure event. I shouldn't say obscure, but potentially less significant or less historic, you could say, event that might
yeah,
still be important within its own context, but just wouldn't have the degree of documentation because of
yeah.
that.
Which is actually what I did. So I did not do the normal research project
Yeah.
on the internment camps, and that's hard enough because the internment camps, you have to find some part of the internment camps that
Yeah.
you can't just
Can't just do
do
like
like the
the
sixth
whole,
grade.
yeah.
Yeah, you can't like read farewell to Manzanar and be like, okay, this is what happened. So so I did Hawaii. So I chose Hawaii as like the unique
Okay.
location because Hawaii is where Pearl Harbor happened, and
Yeah.
Hawaii was like a third Japanese at the time that happened. And so,
Okay.
like, why didn't internment happen there? And the easy answer is because they were part of like pretty much half the labor force at that point when it came to like tilling the fields and doing all
Huh.
that stuff.
So they
But
couldn't go on.
I actually dealt with a topic that took place before Pearl Harbor. So like, why did they get to that point? My main question
Hmm.
was, my main concern was like, okay, like, was it a question of like assimilation? Like, were the Japanese people in Hawaii considered Americans so that like they weren't interned, or like were they just like foreigners and so they and like not Americans, and it was a really complicated question to
Okay.
answer, and I think I
Yeah.
did a pretty good job, but
I was gonna say, do you have
I
like a summary answer? You don't have, I know if it's too long of an answer, because I know you just said it was a complicated one.
yeah
Because now I'm curious what your findings were,
yeah
or at least
so
your conclusion.
my argument basically off of the research that I did was that um, most people on the mainland and most white landowners in Hawaii considered the Japanese population there to be very foreign, because they were usually first generation laborers. They
Hmm.
still spoke Japanese many times, and um, they were just considered like migrant labor, to be
Yeah,
exploited.
it was just kind of how that, just their presence at that time in the culture of Hawaii.
Yeah,
That
but
yeah.
I argued that in fact they were in a, even at that time in the 1920s, still very like on a path to assimilation that was much faster than the Chinese population and the Filipino
Hmm.
population of Hawaii. And like I don't know why, but
That's interesting.
um, there's something that resulted from the immigration of Japanese women
Hmm.
to Hawaii, and with the creation of like a Japanese language schools, where they were able to hold on to like some of the Japanese customs that they had in the
Hmm.
mainland, but kind of form like a new, not so much like American, because Hawaii wasn't really a state at that point.
Yeah,
It was just some
yeah,
sort of
like
like,
a territory or something.
yeah, it was
Yeah.
like a satellite colony at that point. But
Hmm.
still, you spoke English there mainly
Yeah,
if you were going to do business.
yeah.
Um, but I found that like the Japanese population there was well on their way to like assimilation as like Americans,
Hmm.
and not.
Kind of
Um,
becoming part of the um trying to find the right word for it, like I don't want to say accepted population there, but just yeah, becoming part of the unified population in Hawaii.
yeah,
It's just, that's a better word for it.
yeah, because there was a big backlash
I don't want to
after
word
World
it
War
wrong.
II against foreign language schools in
Hmm.
the U.S., particularly
Hmm.
in California and Hawaii,
Interesting, but
and
yeah.
yeah, and so in my argument, part of my argument was that like the foreign language schools in Hawaii were not like an anti-American thing in the Japanese community. It was more of like a something to hold them over, like something um, that would like encourage like cohesion within the community.
Yeah, because
Um,
it was them kind of like you're saying, carrying over and still enjoying some of their custom, enjoying part of their culture without losing it completely, because they didn't want to come over to America and just forget about their their
yeah,
rich heritage and such like that.
yeah, and a big part of early, like super early Japanese and Chinese immigration is that many times the earliest to come over is almost exclusively male, so they're male, not married
Hmm.
migrant laborers, and so many times they actually don't carry over the customs as strong as maybe the second or third wave might, because
Gotcha.
they're not married, so they don't have too many like things kind of like tying them down.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so there was a big problem with like I know this was a problem in San Francisco with the Chinese migrant labor population,
Hmm.
of alcoholism and of just general like stuff like that
Just
going on.
vice kind of kicking
Yeah,
in right
yeah.
there.
Although
Yeah.
that can get into pretty weird areas, but yeah, but when Japanese women started migrating to Hawaii and then to California, they actually began forming cultural institutions, and that was more of that. That was less like, okay, we're Japanese, we're going to do Japanese things now, even
Hmm.
though we're in America. It was more like, okay, we plan to stay here, so
Hmm.
let's actually do something that makes it worthwhile.
Nice. No, that's cool. I like that. That's definitely a good argument on that. Hopefully you got a very good grade on the report. You don't have to share it
Yeah.
on the podcast. I would definitely give you an A. I like that. That was a good breakdown of it. So that's cool. That's cool. So that was your sophomore year. Uh, I feel like I could talk about the report the whole time, but so that was your sophomore year, and so you're right now in your are you in your junior year or your senior year?
Oh man, I've lost count, but
Roughly.
this
Yeah,
is
roughly.
no, this is the first semester of my junior year.
Okay.
So Yeah, because I came in, my first semester at Sac State was exactly 2 years ago. So,
Gotcha. Yeah, I guess that was going to be my next question. So you're a first year student, or yeah, first year student at Sac
yeah,
State, and
first
since you
year.
didn't transfer over,
Yep.
did you enjoy kind of starting off here at Sac State and moving through as like from the first semester versus say like going to a community college and transferring over?
I can't say which would have been better, whether like
Not
the
to say the
decisions
first year
I
experience
made.
is bad.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I can't say which would have been better, but I think I made the right choice by coming in as a first year, at least for me,
Hmm.
because like um, I know I would have saved money in the long run if I just went to my local community college. But I really, really didn't like where I went to high school. Like, not necessarily the high school itself, but just
Fair
like the
enough.
city.
Yeah.
And I saw everyone, well, like not everyone, but a lot of my friends just go to the community college. When I
Hmm.
would ask them about what they plan to do, it's like, oh, I just I guess I go to the City College of San Francisco. And so I was like, okay, that's kind of, to me, that's kind of boring. But I can say that because at least I have like the means to afford
Yeah.
a 4 year college education. So I think I made the right decision for me by coming in as a first year and by coming into Sac State, I believe, because
Nice. I mean, that's the important
I,
part is no regrets, right?
yeah,
At least in that regard, not recklessly.
yeah,
But no, that's cool. I'm glad you've definitely enjoyed it so far. I know this semester kind of doesn't count, as you mentioned. It's been in the bad category, um, but that's totally fine. So it's going to be interesting though, because who knows how long the rest of the college experience is now going to be virtual. Like I know I myself am kind of in my actually hopefully in one more semester, presuming I can pass my classes. But so I'm kind of looking at a virtual graduation. Hopefully, graduation for you will be back like in person to some capacity by the time you get around to it.
yeah,
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 that
yeah,
was a hopeful nod. I can definitely see that.
yeah.
Um,
I definitely don't like. I don't know. I definitely don't like the online learning, but
yeah,
that's all we can do.
yeah. Have you had like I don't know bad experiences or good experiences? Just what are your thoughts on the virtual learning? I guess I shouldn't pose it one way or the other.
One of the reasons why I always took in-person classes when I could was
Uh,
I knew that I would like lose interest or like lose energy if it was online, and I think that's what's been happening largely.
yeah.
And so yeah, I can't say I really like it, but I think that the professors that I have are doing their best to make it work, and
Yeah,
I'm
no,
glad
and
that they're
I definitely hold the really everybody to that standard of no one necessarily expected this, so you can't look and be like, oh, they don't have it perfectly down, because I know the teachers are just like the students. They're kind of learning. I always think like on a day-to-day basis of like, okay, maybe this is going to work this time or next day or whatnot. But no, that's good. It's good to hear that it's been working pretty well for you, and all your classes are virtual, I think you mentioned.
Yep.
Yeah. Do you miss being on campus?
Not too much because this is a great segue. So my job, so I have two jobs with the school right now,
Hmm.
and one of them I only go to 1 day a week, and that's Saturday. So tomorrow,
Okay.
I go physically to the library,
Gotcha.
and I am one of two people in the library at that point. And so my job
It's like
is
a Breakfast
to
Club situation.
yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a six-floor building and only two people there. But my job is to do things with the books to make sure that the books are going back properly
Hmm.
because we still have you can still
Like
borrow books from the
checkouts and
library.
returns. Yeah.
Yeah, you can still do it physically,
Nice.
but you just
Nice.
can't go inside.
So do
But
you have to like go on the website and like if I wanted to I don't know check out Lord of the Rings or whatnot, hopefully that's in the library. But if I want to like check out a book, I go on the website and say like, oh, Chris wants to check out this book, and then I'd go pick it up.
yep,
Kind of
yep.
deal. Okay.
They have like a book order thing. You tell them
Nice.
what you
That's
want,
cool.
and
Yeah.
yeah. Hmm.
No, that's cool. And so I like that you're doing that, especially in the COVID times. I know Valoy, when I was talking to him a couple episodes back, he called everything before the pandemic the before time. So I guess this is now the after time, the COVID time. But no, that's cool. I like that all the different departments and services on campus are finding ways to adapt and still, like in this case, allowing students. Maybe if you don't live that close, it's less logistically feasible. But if you live close by, it's awesome that you can still go and check out a book, even if it's something that's not for your class. You just want to read because maybe you have some extra time because you're stuck at home now.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
And I know not a lot of people are doing that, probably because they just
oh,
but
yeah.
but I know that because I handle all returns, and so like not a lot of returns. I mean, maybe at the very end of the
Yeah.
semester we'll get a lot of returns, but
Yeah.
like if a book is being returned to the library, chances are I have touched it with a glove, but but yeah.
Yeah, the disclaimer right there. But
Yeah.
no, that's cool. I know it's I definitely have been trying to read a lot more during the pandemic. But then again, I guess I'm somebody who, like, I already read beforehand, so I guess I'm not necessarily doing like a novel activity. No
Yeah.
pun intended. Um but that's cool. So like what other I know you mentioned I mentioned them to me before, the other services that the library offers, but what else are they doing? Because I know they have, like you said, like a database, and don't they have like a why don't you go over the cool stuff? You give the library a plug right now.
Oh yeah. So yeah, you can still get books from our regular collection. You can still get books from other CSUs.
Mm-hmm.
You can still get books from other UCs even, through our like a CSU Plus system or the Iliad Library Exchange system.
Nice.
So right. So like
That's cool.
right before the pandemic hit,
Mm-hmm.
I started working with the library. It's called Interlibrary Loan. And so if another CSU does not have the book that you're looking for, which is pretty rare, you can actually order books from other states or like other countries sometimes,
Wow.
through the library. Yeah. So that's a thing. There's the library has on their website listed, like if you need like ebooks, like free ebooks, or like because like we can't check out course reserves, which are textbooks, like classroom materials that are put on reserve. Yeah,
Like there's
so
got
we
to be
can't do
one
that.
available for the students of that course type deal.
Yeah, so we
Yeah.
can't do that anymore. So we've offered like free ebook links on the website.
That's cool.
You can, yeah. But you
Yeah.
can still like check out books, return them. But most of the library stuff that people don't know about is on the website. So it's like research services. You can still like chat with librarians. They're still there to help you. Unfortunately, you can't do any of the cool stuff like get a free Crocker Museum pass because yeah, you just can't do that anymore.
Yeah.
I can't say laptop checkout.
Doesn't the Crocker do like virtual tours now?
I have no idea.
Those I'm sure would be free, so you probably wouldn't need a pass to that. Just click and do it. We'll have to verify it. I don't have a fact checker here, so I'll have to check it another time.
Yeah.
But I'm sorry, go on.
Yeah, but yeah, I don't know. Like the best thing I can do or like say is just to check out the website, because like that's if you're already at the website, you've done something that most people have not done.
It's a uncharted territory by many.
Yeah. So there's a new link. So I'm at the website now. So there's a new link for book requests, like right on the front page. So if people need an actual physical book, you can put it in right from the front page.
Yeah, that's cool. Like and of course I'm talking to somebody who definitely reads and owns a lot of books myself. So like I definitely think that's cool. I wish I'd known about more of the book services. I know when you were kind of telling me about some of these over the summer. I think we were doing a workshop together and we had some extra talking time. But I think that's really cool, and I definitely implore if it behooves you, anyone who's like in the area who has access to that. I'm looking at you, Sac State students. To definitely check out those books. If you aren't reading yet, definitely start reading. I would presume then that are you a pretty big reader, like outside of things that you would have to read for, say, like history, like a class or whatnot?
Not really, actually.
Fair enough.
So I know it works at the library, doesn't read books. But
that makes sense though. It's like with like the plumber has the worst toilet, right?
Yeah.
You get home, you're like, I don't I don't want to
No,
look at books. No books.
yeah, no, I read like I tend to read like my interests outside of like school and what I have to do is like
Mm-hmm.
with like current news and like current like politics or whatever or
Okay.
history sometimes. So like I'll read articles and stuff like that, but many times like I won't go out and like read a
Like
really
read
really thick book.
book. Yeah.
If I'm really interested in a topic and I have like I know I have the book,
Mm-hmm.
many times I'll just read a chapter out of the book because like history books and politics books you can do that with.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. It's less
but
sequential in that
yeah, but I
light. Yeah.
actually, yeah, I actually read a book recently
Mm-hmm.
that was like the first like fiction book that I read in a while, and it was like really really good. It was like this like fantasy world book,
Nice.
and I was like, wow, I didn't know I missed this, but
Nice. Yeah. I mean, definitely. I think I'm pretty much like a nonfiction all the time. But either way, it's definitely good when you're kind of like read something that you're like, man, I don't have to read this for a class or anything. I'm just kind of reading it because like you said, just enjoy it. So that's cool. I'm glad that you're coming back into the reading fold. And like I said, I can totally understand the working in a library, but doesn't really read too often. Sounds like you have to deal with a lot of books in your job. So you're like, man, the last thing I'd want to do is probably pick up some more books. Um, but totally understandable. Totally understandable.
yeah.
So you said you're pretty into politics. I'm sure you've had a lot of interesting stuff to read as of late. Um, what do you? So
Too
like,
much,
what do you say?
too much,
Too
too
much?
much to
Yeah,
read.
I can definitely understand that, and we don't have to get too political one way or the other on this. Um, but yeah, it's definitely been a craze of information. What if I wanted to kind of going the other way? What if I wanted to get into reading more about politics? Because I know something that I even deal with is like, um, what I'm sure a lot of folks do is kind of like skepticism, I guess, about news sources,
Yeah, yeah.
and too much bias, just like I mentioned, one way or the other. If I were going to get into, or I just wanted to read up on some news, do you have any suggestions as to sources?
Yes. So like I'm pretty sure we all know like the usual like mainstream sources
Mm-hmm.
people go to, whether
Mm-hmm.
like
Like
whether
CNN
like
and Fox
yeah,
News and stuff
yeah,
like
of
that.
course.
Yeah.
And so like I don't hinge so much on like, oh, you have to go to like the Washington Post,
Mm-hmm.
or you have to go to I know there are new contenders now in the other sphere
And
where
if you
it's
have
like
multiple
Fox News.
suggestions, that's fine
Yeah,
too.
we have like OAN now, we have like Newsmax and stuff like that. I like reading articles though. I don't watch cable.
Okay.
And so
Well, that's fine too. Yeah.
the best like recommendation, or like the best like advice I guess is that if someone really wants to know about it, like just like really really know a topic, let's say in this week's or past 2 weeks news,
Mm-hmm.
one of the best things that you can do, like if you really really want to know about it, is you can like pick a certain topic, like so for example, like if you want to like learn about like the COVID and stuff like that,
Mm-hmm.
about I know we're getting a lot of new news about like the Moderna
Like the vaccines and the
yeah, the
developments and
vaccine, yeah,
such. Yeah.
like from like Pfizer and stuff like that, or even if you're someone who's still who was
Drop a little vaccine in my tea right here.
yeah, yeah, or it's just if you want to like research anything, if you just like look on the internet and find an article and you read that whole article,
Mm-hmm.
you've already done more work than most people do, that we hear about in online discourse, I
Yeah.
think. And so, but I wouldn't stop there, right? And so, let's say if you find like, if I really want to learn about something, then I would go to my first stop would probably be something like CNN or the Associated Press or something like that.
Yeah.
But then I would go, but then I would go to like Fox News or something like that,
Yeah. And just kind
or
of like compare like
yeah,
the
or like
news.
Newsweek.
Yeah.
Yeah, just ones that have like, my first stop though is always to ones that have like a really good, really really good reputation. So like Thompson, Reuters, or AP usually are the best,
Okay.
do the best original reporting that
Gotcha.
I've heard of and I've seen. But then like I
Yeah. And
know that
this is an honest question. I'm not trying to trick you. I'm legit trying to get some news advice here.
yeah.
Yeah. I'm just,
Oh, sorry. I thought
oh,
you.
no,
I thought you. using that to set up something.
Oh,
But
no, yeah.
yeah, but one thing, an app I got that really helps me is called News Voice, and
Huh.
I'm promised that this is
I'll do
not
my.
sponsored.
No, it's
Um,
okay.
but News Voice is it's like an
Maybe we
independent,
will
like,
get sponsored now. But.
yeah, app where you can like look at like headlines and stuff like that. And if you click on a headline, it will synthesize, like it will give you like multiple links. So like I'm looking at
Kind of like
one where,
follow-up links that are related
yeah,
to it.
it'll give you a link to like a left-leaning site and a right-leaning site, all under the
Oh.
same headline.
So it kind of
So
gives you like a balanced perspective, if you will. I mean, you got to kind of do the reading yourself, but
yeah,
it
and
gives you access
there's,
to it.
yeah, and there's
Nice.
crowdsourced summaries. So like crowdsource, like, so you can actually become like a volunteer, like a contributor,
Mm-hmm.
and anyone can. And all you do is, if you want to contribute to it, you just like write a summary of it, of the topic, and if it's like reviewed and approved, then you're good. Like and most
Okay,
summaries will
good.
be like approved, and
I
so
was
you
glad
can't.
you said that. I was like, it's not just like people can just post like whatever. Like
Yeah, no, no,
summary
no.
is things were terrible.
Yeah,
I was
you
about to
have
ask,
to,
there
of
better be
course.
like a word count requirement on that.
Yeah, yeah. And so, but it's good to like synthesize it. So it's like, if like, so if like Fox News is reporting something,
Mm-hmm.
and if like Reuters or AP or CNN is also reporting it, then it's probably like, you can probably see what's shared, among all of those
Yeah. Do a
stories,
little
right?
comparison and contrast.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
and usually like let's say for example, like when like the New York Times posts, or like publishes something, or like the
Mm-hmm.
Washington Post or like the Wall Street Journal,
Mm-hmm.
um, they I know the New York Times does this, but they'll make all corrections public. So they'll
Gotcha. Like if
yeah,
they
there's like a certain
post
web page
something
they use.
and
Yeah,
yeah, have to make a change. Like, oh, we take this back, folks. We actually meant to, we made a mistake on something.
yeah, yeah. So
Nice.
usually it's just stuff that's like, oh, okay, is
It's
it a
honest.
typo? Is it a
Yeah.
date or is it a time? If it's something like a retraction statement, like if
Mm-hmm.
they're saying like, we reported this is actually false. That's much less common. But they also do make those equally as public.
Fair enough. Fair
Yeah.
enough. Yeah, I guess I was exaggerating it by making it seem like those happen all the time.
Oh yeah.
But no, that's cool that it definitely gives the image of, I guess, like transparency, and kind of being an honest news service of, hey, look, you can see all the edits, because it's like, I guess if you look at a YouTube comment or whatnot, and you're like, I can see it's edited, but I don't know what was edited.
Yeah.
So that's cool. And I know, especially with news sources, not quite my views, but definitely I've met folks with those views where they just, there's like I said, a very big skepticism with how legit, or the legitimacy of the news themselves. I guess that's probably a better way to phrase it. Sounds fancier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like the how I like to view sort of like the attitude now is
Mhm.
like, we're living in a time where being an alternative media source or supporting an alternative media source is easier than ever.
Yeah.
And so one of my favorite examples of this is, I don't know if you've heard of it, but Project Veritas and James O'Keefe. Um,
Kinda, but I'm not too familiar with it. If you
yeah,
wanna refresh me, fill
Yeah,
me
so
in.
Project Veritas is an organization, and I think if you go to their websites or you go to their videos, they say that they do stings on like on the media. They usually want to
Hmm.
like expose like things in the media. Like at least their founder James O'Keefe says that that's their goal.
Mhm.
But the thing that's interesting about Project Veritas is that it's very well known,
Mhm.
um, across like usually the right politosphere in the United States, but they're not like anchored to any like big organization,
Gotcha.
and so that's where their appeal comes from,
Yeah.
because
They're
many
almost like an
times for
independent entity, if you will.
many times for people who have that distrust of like the validity of like mainstream news sources, as we're seeing
Mhm.
more and more, the validity and the trust they have for organizations like Project Veritas and James O'Keefe grows proportionally, I think.
Nice.
Um, the main difference that I like to think of, though,
Mhm.
is you have to be careful when it comes to alternative media like that,
Yeah.
because many times for alternative media, if you make a mistake that would warrant a retraction, usually, many times, it doesn't really matter, if
Yeah.
you aren't necessarily held to that same standard, right? Like if something, let's say, for example, like Thomson Reuters happened where I think this happened with the Mueller investigation where they misreported something that had to do with like the Russian investigation or something like that, and people were fired. I mean, editors were let go and they were fired for that.
Yeah. Yeah. Because
So
you don't want to. You certainly don't want to be reporting false news if you can help it.
yes, yeah, and so that's
Ideally.
many times like it's both on the left and right we have like this distrust for like large corporations, right? We're saying that like, oh, okay, like we can't we don't necessarily want to place our trust for like civic engagement in these private, pretty big organizations who may have like an agenda or something like that. And usually the thing that that makes me sort of say like, okay, well, what about this? What makes them trustworthy, right? Why did they get this big? And it's usually because to a private company like that, reputation is everything. And so if something minor happens where it's like, oh no, this wasn't true, then heads will quite literally roll if they catch you off guard or catch you misreporting something.
Gotcha. Nice. So I think I like that one. You definitely gave like a cool app that pick up. I know if I had something like that on my phone, which I will definitely be picking up on my phone, I will probably read the news more often. Because I admittedly do not watch cable television. I guess I'm like a weirdo. I don't know. Do a lot of people still watch cable television? I feel like all my TV is just like YouTube. That's probably where I get most of my news is just like opening YouTube and it's like, hey, COVID still exists. But that's cool. I like how you not only gave some good suggestions, but you also take that good balanced approach of I'm going to look at different news sources that I know might have like a different bias or at least coming from a different angle.
Yeah.
And kind of compare and see what the similarities are between them, see what might be their angle that they're coming from versus what is just the truth on the news, the facts.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Nice. So I know you mentioned earlier on one of the other classes you were taking is a Native American tribal governments class. Is that so I'm actually I'm a Native American. So out of curiosity, is that within the state or is that just kind of like in the country overall?
It's the U.S. overall.
Oh, okay.
And sometimes they'll go into like Canada or Mexico, but usually it's just the U.S. Because it's less of a tribal cultures class and more of a what's the history with the U.S. government or the Canadian government in recognizing these and like because like for many modern or for almost every modern Native nation in the U.S., it all comes down to how much sway you have with the federal government, like how much you can get appropriated on your behalf, stuff like that.
Yeah. Nice. Are you joining that class?
Yeah. It's very, very interesting because it kind of sheds light on because my family lives in Oregon and a part of the family that lives in Oregon lives near a native reservation.
Okay.
And so I've always kind of wondered how because things seem to like work extremely differently out there. And now I'm learning more like of why it works.
Yeah, and it even can be really different just because, as you mentioned, each tribe kind of has their own deal. And admittedly, I'm not like super expert. You're probably more of an expert on this than I am. But only just from belonging to a tribe and, speaking to other folks, it seems like each tribe kind of has their own deal going on. So you might have one that's just like, I don't want to like exaggerate or make it seem like it isn't, but you might have one where they might have like a different appropriations deal where they're getting funds for some project, and you have another one that's just kind of like doing their own deal or doing their own thing, I guess.
Yeah, one of the best examples of how like tribal relationships with the federal government can really really be different is we've all heard of the Standing Rock Sioux Reservation in South Dakota. And they're well known because there were big protests there against the Dakota Access Pipeline, which would have run from I think Alberta down Texas, I think.
Something, like it was the one that was just like you said, crossing all the way across from like the entire country.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And so,
Intended.
but funny enough, it's the way the world works now is set up in such a way where the Standing Rock Sioux Reservation and a lot of reservations that would potentially be affected by the
Mhm.
pipeline, they would get like the negative aspects many
Yeah.
times. But I think I forget what it's called, but it's a native reservation in North Dakota, and it's a confederation of 3 different tribes. So it's federally recognized 3 different tribes there
Mhm.
under trust land in North Dakota, and they stand to benefit from such projects like that because they sit on a very large, I think it's shale or some sort of oil or natural gas deposit.
Gotcha. So they would
Um,
benefit from the industry that would come from that pipeline
yeah,
type deal. Yeah.
yeah. Because if because like from their perspective, if you live on a native reservation, you don't have a lot of things going for you,
Yeah.
already.
Potentially. Yeah.
And on top of that, you live in the state of North Dakota. So, so
Sorry, North
um,
Dakota.
yeah, and so like many times, like you just have to bite the bullet on some sort of
Yeah.
economic development, right, to give some sort of job, immediate economic relief to their
Mhm.
people there. And many times that stands to hurt someone else in another state.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I remember when that was all happening. It was definitely unfortunate to see on the news, but it is definitely interesting to see, kind of like what you're talking about, where you have 2 different tribes, and of course this is just one example, but you have 2 different tribes, kind of the same region, not the same state, so they're not like their immediate neighbors type deal, like 2 towns down the street, um, but kind of the same region if you're looking at it from the context of the United States. But one event, 2 tribes, kind of the same region, but 2 very different perspectives and 2 very different circumstances in terms of like how they would benefit, how they would detriment from some event, some project happening. In this case, that pipeline.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like your take on history. I like your details. You seem very incredibly detail oriented. I definitely recommend that like, it'd be cool to see you write a book about something. I definitely would read it. Kind of along those lines, now that you've decided that you want to stick with a history degree, swayed away from the world of biology, uh, what do you want to do with that history degree?
So I'm not entirely positive with
That's totally fine.
yeah, with what I want to do. I used to think I wanted to become a high school teacher,
Hmm.
but I'm not so sure now. I want to do a lot of things, but funny enough, I currently I don't think I want to like go straight into like teaching history or
Hmm.
doing something that has to do with like education for a while.
Fair enough.
I think I'd rather use the history degree as
Hmm.
sort of like a certificate where it's like saying like I know how to do critical thinking. Like, look, here's the
Yeah.
research I did.
Yeah.
So you can teach me things, or it's like I imagine if I'm like talking to a company or some other entity, and I'm saying that like I can work for you and you can teach me things about how to do my job, or like you can
Hmm.
send me to school somewhere else and it'll be a worthwhile endeavor. So my current plan is or it doesn't have to be like a really really
Potential
big plan,
plan. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, or something, but I want to take my history degree,
Mhm.
and I think I like want to take like the critical thinking that I've shown there, and I think I want to take it to like at least like a part-time job with like the military. So I've been considering like the Air Guard, and getting
Nice.
assistance from them,
Hmm.
because I'm really interested in like the Air Force Tech School.
Nice.
Um,
You could join
yeah, and
Space
so
Force. It said you could join the Space Force,
I could join the
the
Space
newly
Force.
developed Space Force, and become a spaceman. I think as their ranks are called, but I
Yeah,
have to double check that. Sorry, spaceman, if you're out there,
but
and I called you the wrong name.
yeah, so currently I don't have anything like too specific planned for it. But within my future, I definitely want to look into, um, because my ideal job would be working with like the Department of the Interior in some capacity, like in like a law enforcement capacity,
Hmm.
um, or with like environmental policy or something like that.
Yeah.
Um, but before I get there, I think something that would really, really help me is experience in like the National Guard in some capacity,
Yeah.
Air Force Reserve.
Nice. Well, those are definitely good options. I definitely had numerous buddies who, I guess not numerous, but a good handful of buddies who have done kind of that route, or at least gone through and done a couple of years in like either the Air Guard or National Reserve, so on and so forth. Army Reserve. Sorry, I feel like I'm misnaming these departments. Sorry, guys. But no, that's definitely a great thing, even if you, no matter what you want to do afterwards, just kind of getting that good work experience that, it's kind of like the old motivational commercials type deal.
Yeah.
But no, that's cool. That's a good plan. Even if you don't have one pathway pinned down, it sounds like you have some good ideas about what you want to go into. Would you, think about like going, like maybe circling back to teaching later on in the career?
I really could.
Yeah.
I
Kind of
don't.
since that brought you into it, I imagine like that was kind of like initial.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's definitely not something that I really, really want to do. Or I really want to shoot for. Like, I don't think that's why I'm still, like I said earlier, I'm still weighing whether I
Kind
want to
of
do the
in
credential or not.
between. Yeah.
Yeah, because if I do the pre-credential, it'll probably take like a semester or two longer to graduate.
Mm-hmm.
But it's the social science areas of the pre-credential are the stuff is like the stuff that I really, really like. And so I mean, whether or not I decide to go into a credential program
Yeah.
afterwards,
It would still be cool
I'm
to learn about anyways. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
I'm confident that I can figure something out. But I've really learned that I want to do like more, not necessarily like educational things, but
Mm-hmm. Kind of working with people, if you will.
yeah,
Yeah.
I think, and that's needed everywhere. So
Yeah. Yeah. Especially these days where people are getting so, folks are getting so cut off from each other. Like they are and they aren't, everyone's got social media and whatnot, but, just like we were saying, it's uh, crazy how much I don't see people anymore. And even if you do see people, it's usually kind of got that going with the face masks and everything. So it's you don't get that interaction anymore. So it's hard to stay connected or still feel like you're being connected. Kind of like you mentioned earlier on when we started off. Like you don't want to be completely just hold away and in disconnect with the rest of the world.
yeah.
Yeah. So that's cool. That's cool. So it sounds like your semester is going at least fairly well in terms of you got some cool, interesting classes. I think that's definitely a bonus right there. Um, so I know there's been the most recent announcement to sort of depopulate the campus, and you mentioned all your classes are virtual, so this doesn't really affect you. Depopulate meaning in this case is like, hey, if you have a class in person, unfortunately, it will be moved to virtual. So what are your thoughts on that? Just out of curiosity.
I think it's the right decision. I mean, considering like the past like 2 or 3 weeks we've had in California specifically,
Yeah.
like yeah, I don't know.
No, totally. Yeah, no, I don't mean to get too deep in it, but yeah, it's just I know it's probably more something that I have thoughts on because I had an in-person class. So I know on one hand I'm bummed about it because that was, it's fun still being able to go on campus for the couple of hours a week that I did. But I definitely understand why they did it. I'm not gonna. I certainly don't disagree with the decision. But man, I did miss going on there and driving around the school with nobody else there.
Yeah.
Parking was great. Now I can't really use that line anymore. Now parking's, I guess, still even better. but yeah.
Yeah. I'm actually I haven't even checked if my my work would be canceled because that would
Yeah. So I guess that was going to be the next thing is how, and I know it's very fresh. So a lot of folks probably don't even know. I think it was like probably like noon-ish or so today. So it's still really fresh. But yeah, I'd be curious how that would go. I'd imagine since, you're not really sounds like there's not a large crew there, just, two people for the whole building. I would imagine you wouldn't be affected, but then again, I am not on the know on that, so I don't want to make any promises.
yeah. I mean that's only 1 day a week.
Yeah.
The majority of my time at work is actually for IRT, and I do what's called classroom materials remediation. And so I take classroom materials like a PDF or like a web page or like a Microsoft Office document, and I make it so that it can be accessed by someone who's like blind or hard of hearing, or not
Oh,
hard of
that's
hearing,
cool.
but
Yeah.
hard of visually impaired.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. I had a student back when I was tutoring over at ARC who definitely he would come in, and a really awesome guy. I miss talking to him, but yeah, he had like definitely he was visually impaired himself, and he had like all these really cool like I used to be like, man, because he could read a book so fast technically because he would just like listen to it, but not at the speed that I would listen to something. It's like 6 times the speed, and he's like, yeah, no,
Yeah.
I caught everything from that. And I think it's really cool that honestly just things are available in that format as they are um, for those who need them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
that's
a
cool.
really unique thing because
You get
like
my commendation for helping prepare those.
one of my favorite things to explain to people is like to best explain what my job
Uh-huh.
is many times we add like alternative text to like if there's a picture you can't read a picture, so usually
Very
when you go
difficult
to a
too. Yeah.
yeah, the easiest way to describe it is if you go to a website and you hover your mouse over a picture, if it's a good website then you'll get a description that pops up on your mouse thing that says picture
Like a
of
little, yeah.
picture of Gettysburg National
Picture of
Cemetery.
a cat drinking a soda.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So my job would be to like manually type in either what the publisher has already said about that picture, or sometimes it can just be like my intuition.
Gotcha.
Um,
I was gonna say, do you
yeah,
ever
but
like embellish it? You take a little artistic license. You still keep it accurate, but you're like, let's make this sound awesome.
no, the only things that I would like add on my own
Fair
is
enough.
like arrow pointing to, and
Yeah,
then
yeah.
yeah, so it's not really but I always try to describe like back when I did this with theses with the library.
Mhm.
If it was a colorful picture, I would try to describe things in terms of lights and darks and not colors, um, because like
If you didn't
I
have a
actually don't.
reference of color, it'd be hard to say. Like if you don't know
Yeah.
what blue looks like,
Yeah, it's
how,
there
yeah.
used yeah, there used to be like a I don't know if you're familiar with the Reddit subreddit, not the onion. Um,
I am not. I'm familiar
okay,
with the onion itself and as well as the
yeah.
vegetable, but
So
uh
not the onion is a subreddit where you can share like really really absurd headlines or articles that are like they're really mind blowing, but they're not fake. They're like real things
gotcha.
that happen. And so not so there was like this lady, and she got like kicked off of a bus with her seeing eye dog because apparently I don't know if this is I didn't read the article, but like but it was like I read a summary, but it was basically like someone told her that like she wasn't allowed to have like a black seeing eye dog or something, like an all black seeing eye dog. It was really weird. Um,
That is
it was like
ridiculous. I could
yeah,
believe that happening somewhere, hopefully not around here.
yeah, but it was like and like someone made a joke where it's like imagine like being blind for your whole life and just like going on this bus like you can't ride here. Your dog is like jet black, and it's like what is black?
That is yeah. It's
That's
like
probably not how it actually works at all. But like I always try to
yeah.
keep something like that in my head because I don't want to like describe something and like this is a cyan cup and like someone's like listening to it and it's like what is
Yeah.
cyan?
No, it's interesting. Yeah, because like I said, if they don't have that frame of reference, how can you refer to that?
Yeah.
Um, Plus, that's crazy that they would kick her off a bus for having a dog of a certain color, because God forbid you can't have that. That's crazy. That's crazy. But no, that's cool that you are helping out with those projects, and I think it's a very noble cause, and especially since the kind of approach you're taking to it, because I'd imagine that could be a job where you could be like, I'm just gonna just do the minimum description type deal, still put some words in, but it's cool that you're kind of given, I guess, what I would imagine that extra thought of like, how could this be best understood for the audience it is intended for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
So that's cool. That's cool. Um, I know it's been a pretty good hour right now. I don't want to make this, I guess I've been mentally trying to make the podcast a little bit shorter. I'm not always the best about that. But I know we've done a pretty good hour here as far as the episode. I think it's been definitely a pretty good informative episode. We'll have to like pick some specific history topics, and I'll just have you come on and talk about them, because I realize that's probably what I should have done initially. But this was a good episode. I definitely liked your topic of choice for the project earlier. And like I said, I would think if you wrote a book down the line, some sort of historical book, I would hands down read it, especially with your attention to detail and your approach on it. Do you have any concluding thoughts before we wrap up the episode for today, Matthew?
Um, I don't think
Words
so,
for the
but
folks listening at home?
yeah, I'd be super happy if you had any, if in the future you had any history thing where I can give my 2 cents on, because this has been really exciting, really great for me.
I'm down. And like I said, I definitely read a lot of nonfiction books, so I apologize if folks are like, oh my God, history. Too bad, folks. I'm down. So I say, Matt, if you want to pick some topics, not right now, you don't have to, but I say sometime later on, if you want to like pick a topic of your choice that you would love to talk about and inform the world, I would love to have you back on, and you can tell me and everyone about it.
Yeah, well, thank you.
Cool. Of course. Of course. That was a good episode. And to everyone else who is listening, wherever you are, hopefully, as I mentioned, you're not driving, or if you are, you're just doing, I guess, all audio. Whatever device you are on, I hope everyone is having a good day, staying safe, and making healthy decisions. And of course, stingers up. All right. Bye, folks.